Federer, Nadal, Murray, Birdish. It was too difficult back then, you know? They were dominating the sport of tennis back then, and there was nothing really you could do. Nobody could get to, like, you know, a semi or a final of a Grand Slam. They were that good in their prime. I played all of them. Rafa only played twice, I believe. I played him once on grass. So I lost 6-4 in the third. So I didn't play him too many times. Murray, I could never take a set off, ever. But he was always playing him when he was number one. I always played him at Davis Cup, now round of 16, Australian Open when he was number one. Didn't win a set. Federer played only 2 or 3 times once. It was, I think, in Davis Cup, 6-4 in the fourth. See, Novak, I played 5 times, the most out of them all. And I lost 5 times. I beat him at the Hopman Cup, 6-4, 6-4. I mean, it counts, but it doesn't count. Novak in the prime, there's no one that can match him for sure, you know? He's one of the best players. He was, when he was playing well, he was chopping Federer 2-2. Rafa 2-1. He was that good, man. Like, you can't compete. He's the greatest of all time. There will be no one like him for sure. Nobody could beat the guy. Like in 2011, like I think Nadal lost like 3 or 4 matches. It was a joke. And 5 or 6 times I played the third round would lose to Federer or Rafa or Murray or Djokovic and stuff. It was so many times the third round or fourth round that it was like becoming like mental, because like you think you got to beat them in the third round or fourth round, then you got to beat Nadal in the quarters. Semis, Murray. It's like a mission impossible back then. It's like impossible to beat 3 of these major top guys in a slam. Maybe if you beat one of them, lucky, you know, in a third round, fourth round. But then next you got to play another guy. It's impossible.
The greatest of all time is Novak, but I don't think he was the hardest.
Not Federer?
No, the greatest of all time is Novak, but my hardest opponent was probably Federer. I think for me, game style wise, Federer made you feel really average at times. He was very aggressive. He took the game to you, and no matter where you played him around the world, he was always a favorite, and people wanted him to win. Yeah. So I think he was my hardest opponent, to be honest.
And why? What's the difference between Federer and Novak?
Federer had this arrogance about him that pisses you off. The way he walks, he knew how good he was. He was probably the most talented player to ever pick up a racket. Yeah, he knew his ability and how good he was, and obviously that's what made him great. But the way his aggressiveness, he almost shrunk the court. Like that's how he made you feel. He made you feel like he was suffocating you a little bit. And yeah, he was probably my toughest opponent.
So Novak.
I mean, Novak he feels you out a little bit. Like he lets you play and then he kind of dissects you a little bit. Like you might win a set and you might win a couple games, and then like he finds out what your weakness is and he kind of kills you slowly. He knows what he's doing.
To me, it's not even a question. He's the greatest of all time. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There are other people and players that were more, you know, you love to watch Federer, his shot making, his balletic brilliance on the court, his offensive capabilities, Nadal with his physicality. You know, what he brought to the table is from just, you know, being the absolute intense competitor with the heavy topspin off the forehand. But if you break it down, you know, you break down the wins, the losses, the majors, number one, 24 to 22 to 20, the Masters event like the Montreal Cincinnati's of the world, the event you won there. And to me, here's the biggest thing about Djokovic, guys, is that he was able to do it in any condition. You know, Federer on clay, okay, I mean, he was great, but he could never beat Nadal on clay. You know, Nadal did win 2 Wimbledons, which to me was one of maybe the most remarkable things of his career. Of course, he won 14 French Open, so that's saying something. But he wasn't a great grass court player. I mean, he did reach a couple other finals, but he lost, you know, early many times at Wimbledon over the course of his career. Djokovic never lost early anywhere in his career, in any tournament, on any surface, no matter what the condition. So if you look at that and you look at it from the perspective of one-on-one against those 2 main rivals, him winning, you know, he's won his worst major as far as numbers goes is Paris. He's only won it 3 times. You know, you've got 10 Australian, U.S. Open, 7 Wimbledons as well. So his scope on all the services and all the conditions, not to mention the fact, I believe he's won 7 ATP finals, which is the year-end championship, which Federer, I think, also won 7 or 8. So those guys dominated that tournament, especially in their prime. That's why, to me, Novak Djokovic, from a technical standpoint, his game technically, mentally, emotionally, his ability to play under pressure, you put the whole thing together, and there's other players you might have liked to watch more, and the fan bases for Fed and Rafa are bigger, arguably, than Djokovic, but Djokovic, just his body of work, you can't compare anyone else to it.
Of Sinner and Alcaraz, which one has a better chance of chasing down Djokovic?
That's an amazing question of which I can't answer right now other than to say I'm going to sit back and enjoy it over the next 10 years. One of the things that's amazing about the two of them right now is that they both can play unbelievable tennis on every surface. Sinner's picked up a game this year to get to the final in Paris. He'd never been to a final in Paris on the clay and have the 3 match points and blow it, lose it in 5. He'd never been to a Wimbledon final. He comes off that just heartbreaking, epic loss in the final of Paris, and then he absolutely dominates Alcaraz in the final. Alcaraz has won 2 Wimbledons already. He's won the French Open a couple times already, and he's won on hard court in New York at the U.S. Open. So right now, I'd give Sinner the slight edge because he's definitely better on hard court. He's a little bit his mediocre level that you're calling, it's never mediocre, is a higher level than Alcaraz's highs can be higher, but Sinner's just a slightly more consistent at the moment, although I think they're both catching each other in those departments where Alcaraz is becoming a little more predictable, a little more consistent, and Sinner is also, he become a great shot maker. He came to net more times in the Wimbledon final against Alcaraz than Alcaraz did, which I never would have predicted coming in. So if I had to, if you put the gun to my head and said, you got to make a call right now, I'd probably lean Sinner just based on his consistency. But, it's going to come down to so many X factors: health, motivation, desire to keep doing it. The way the big three did it, they had each other to push and they kept pushing each other to say, hey, wait, if he can do it at 32, 33, why can't I? Djokovic won most of his majors after 30, which is just unheard of. So there's no reason they can't continue to rack them up and get to double digits pretty quickly.
Pero Novak rompe la raqueta, pero al siguiente punto está al 100%. Quiere decir...
Se vuelve a concentrar.
Es decir, él la frustración le dura el momento de romper la raqueta. Después está otra vez preparado para competir al 100% y por eso pues es el que ha conseguido más de toda la historia de nuestro deporte.
¿Es el mejor de la historia?
Los números dicen que sí, claro que sí.
¿Para ti lo es?
Para mí sí, de lo que yo he visto. Es decir, es que...
Incluyéndote a ti, a Federer, entiendo. O sea,
sí, yo no tengo ningún problema. Yo nunca he tenido ningún ego para decir cosas que no siento, ¿no? Yo creo que es que al final podemos poner... Sí, yo he estado lesionado tanto en Grand Slams y él no, y chico, pero él ha tenido un cuerpo mejor que el mío, ¿sabes? No, esto también cuenta.
His mentality, I watched him at Wimbledon a few years ago and he was losing and I'd never seen him play before live. And then I looked at him working himself up.
Yep.
And then before I knew it, he'd blown this guy away.
Yep.
So it was an English player. Just blew him away.
Yeah.
But he was down, like a set down, and it looked like he was struggling. But then suddenly out of nowhere, it just turned up the heat.
He's so annoying that he let Alcaraz win Wimbledon and didn't let me win Wimbledon. Alcaraz was always going to win more Grand Slams, but you could have given me one. Do you know what I mean? Give me one.